This is the story of John Forte, Grammy-nominated producer, hip-hop pioneer, federal prisoner, and a man who rebuilt his life against impossible odds, only to have it end unexpectedly at 50. Monday afternoon, January 13, 2026, Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. A neighbor stops by John Forte's home in Chilmar to check on him. They find him unresponsive on the kitchen floor. It's 2:25 p.m. First responders arrive 7 minutes later, but there's nothing they can do. He's pronounced dead at the scene. John Forte was 17 days away from his 51st birthday. There's no obvious cause of death, no signs of foul play. What we do know is this. About a year earlier, he'd been hospitalized after a seizure. He'd been on medication ever since. The music world reacted with shock. Wyclef Jean posted on social media, "This one hurts, my brother. John Forte has joined the angels. Legends never die. Look at the smile. R.I.P. my refugee brother." But to understand why this loss hit so hard, we need to go back to the beginning. January 30th, 1975. John Forte is born in Brownsville, Brooklyn. His parents are Haitian immigrants. Brownsville is one of New York's roughest neighborhoods. At 8 years old, something happens at PS 327 that changes everything. Years later, he described the moment like this: "I walked into the orchestra room and I walked out with a violin. I took that home and it changed my whole trajectory. Music gave me the ability to participate in a way that made me feel so empowered and like I belong." Think about that. While other kids are waiting for guitars and drums, this kid from Brownsville picks up a violin. He falls in love with classical music. Vivaldi becomes his obsession. He learns multiple instruments. That violin becomes his ticket out. He wins a full scholarship to Phillips Exeter Academy, one of the most prestigious boarding schools in America. He's going from Brownsville to New Hampshire. He graduates in 1993. And at Exeter, he meets someone who'll change his life twice, a kid named Ben Taylor, son of Carly Simon and James Taylor. Neither of them could have known how important that friendship would become. Forte heads to NYU to study music business. His roommate, Talib Kweli, the rapper. But college doesn't last long. He drops out to work A&R at Rawkus Records. He's diving straight into hip-hop's underground scene. Then, in the early 90s, Lauryn Hill introduced him to the Fugees. Before they even have a recording contract, Forte becomes the first non-member signed to their refugee camp label. February 1996, The Score drops. The album became a cultural phenomenon, multi-platinum. It won the Grammy for Best Rap Album in 1997, and John Forte is all over it. Co-writing, producing, performing. You can hear him on Family Business and Powboys. He's 21 years old, and he's Grammy-nominated. The momentum keeps building. He contributed to Wyclef Jean's solo debut, The Carnival, in 1997, another Grammy-nominated album. He's on Street Jeopardy and We Trying to Stay Alive. He's touring the world with the Fugees and the Refugee Camp All-Stars. He teams up with Cross for Avenues, which becomes a top 40 hit from the Money Talks soundtrack. Everything's clicking. Year 1988. Time for his own album. Poli Sci comes out, produced by Wyclef Jean. Features from Fat Joe, DMX, and others. Spin magazine loves it, calling it a crush between academia and street life that's utterly absorbing. It sells just under 100,000 copies. That's a commercial disappointment. The record's project manager quits Sony Music a week before release. Columbia Records barely promotes it. The tour gets almost no support, but Forte keeps going. By 2001, while dealing with legal troubles we'll get to in a minute, he recorded his second album, I, John. This time, he goes deeper, more introspective. He's working with Herbie Hancock, with Tricky, with Carly Simon. Critics love it, but by the time it comes out, John Forte's life has completely fallen apart. Year 2000, Newark International Airport. John Forte accepts 2 suitcases. Inside them, $1.4 million worth of liquid cocaine. He's arrested, charged with possession with intent to distribute cocaine and conspiracy to distribute. The trial ends in conviction. And here's where it gets brutal. Mandatory minimum sentencing laws. The judge has zero discretion. Doesn't matter what the circumstances were. Doesn't matter that this is his first offense. 14 years in federal prison. He's sent to FCI Loretto, a low-security facility in central Pennsylvania, later transferred to Fort Dix. This is a guy who was Grammy-nominated at 21, who helped define the sound of 90s hip-hop. And now he's facing over a decade behind bars. It looks like the end of the story. But some people refuse to give up on him. Carly Simon, the legendary singer-songwriter, becomes one of his fiercest advocates. She believes he didn't get a fair trial. Her son Ben, Forte's old friend from Exeter, champions his cause too. And then, in In a twist nobody saw coming, Republican Senator Orrin Hatch from Utah joins the fight. This isn't just about saving one man. They're taking on mandatory minimum drug laws, laws that strip judges of their power to consider individual circumstances. Forte's case became a symbol in the criminal justice reform movement. In 2009, Forte told New York Magazine, "Carly is a mentor to me, a guide, absolutely my spiritual godmother." Their advocacy works. November 24, 2008, President George W. Bush commuted Forte's sentence. December 22, 2008, just before Christmas, after 7 years of a 14-year sentence, John Forte walks out of prison a free man. What happens next shows you who John Forte really is. Within a month of his release, he drops a cover of Kanye West's Homecoming, featuring Talib Kweli. By late March 2009, he's teaching at City College of New York, writing for thedailybeast.com, doing interviews about prison reform. July 2009, he releases Style Free, the EP, social commentary mixed with hope and inspiration. His song Play My Cards For Me ends up in the movie Just Right with Queen Latifah and Common. Then comes 2011, Water, Light, Sound, his first full album in 10 years, released in 3 parts. Collaborations with John Legend, Natasha Bedingfield, Talib Kweli. His track Your Side gets placed in the EA FIFA World Cup 2010. He launches the first part after performing in Moscow, then tours through Stockholm, London, Paris, Casablanca. Here's what determination looks like in numbers. In the years after his release, he records over 50 songs, performs over 100 shows. 2012, the Brooklyn Nets need a theme song for their inaugural season. Who better than a Brooklyn native? Forte composes Brooklyn, Something to Lean On. In 2013, he released Vessels, Angels, and Ancestors, his final album. Ben Taylor first brought Forte to Martha's Vineyard back in 1998. Around 2016, about a decade ago, Forte moved there permanently. He's with his wife, Laura Fuller, a freelance photographer, and their 2 kids, Ren and Hale. He becomes part of the community. His recording studio turns into a creative hub. He's performing at local venues with Carly Simon, Ben Taylor, and other musicians. After his death, Chilmark Police Chief Sean Slavin says, "It is such a small community. This death hits close to home. It's the upside and the downside to living on such a small island." And in those final years, friends say he's in an incredibly creative period. He composed the film score for HBO's Eyes on the Prize 3, a 6-part series that premieres February 25, 2025. He updates the theme song with Fiona Brown, an 8th grader at Martha's Vineyard Charter School, plus a youth choir and gospel singer, Mary D. Williams. He helped write the score for Kerouac's Road, The Beat of a Nation, a documentary about Jack Kerouac. It premiered at Tribeca Festival on June 5, 2025. When he dies, he's still working on music for HBO, planning to film a documentary about his own life. In a 2024 interview with Arts and Ideas, he reflects on what drives him now. "It's mind-blowing. It really is. But the music that I think of most recently, its purpose. It feels like a time capsule for my children. I make music now that I really want my kids to like when they're able to receive it." He's thinking about legacy, about what he'll leave behind for 10-year-old Ren and 7-year-old Hale. Monday, January 13th, 2026. A neighbor goes to check on John Forte at his Chilmark home. They find him on the kitchen floor, unresponsive. They call 911. Officers arrive at 2:32 p.m. John Forte is pronounced dead at the scene. The cause is still under investigation by the Massachusetts State Medical Examiner's Office. Given his seizure history and the medication he'd been taking, there are questions, but right now, there are no answers. Grammy-nominated producer Molly Wilson writes, "Shook to my core and trying to stop the tears from flowing. The world lost a great dad, friend, man, and musician. My heart is breaking for my brother's children, who've lost their dad yesterday." Comedian Amy Schumer shares a video of Forte singing Shame and posts a link to a fundraiser for his wife and children. The organizer, Amber Knowles, writes, "John Forte was a dearest friend, an incredible musician and artist, and a crucial, luminous soul who touched so many of our lives. Yesterday, we lost John unexpectedly, and his absence has left an intense void in our community." From an orchestra room in Brownsville, where an 8-year-old picked up a violin, to Grammy nominations at 21, through 7 years in federal prison, and back to creative rebirth on Martha's Vineyard. John Forte's life never fit into one box. He was the classically trained violinist who shaped 90s hip-hop, the Grammy-nominated artist who became the face of sentencing reform, father making music as a time capsule for his kids, the Brooklyn kid who found home on a small Massachusetts island. His story was about talent, about falling, about redemption, about renewal. And just when he was creating some of his most meaningful work, making music for his children to discover when they were ready, his story ended far too soon. John Forte was 50 years old.